On. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dev Fireside Chat. I'm Matthew, as always, joined by Howard, Eric, and Jacob. We have a full team today. That's because we're going to be talking about the new patch, all the big new things, all the questions you probably have about it, and all the changes. But I see we've got a couple people in the chat already, so welcome to the Guns of Icarus Dev Fireside stream. So first things first, this week has been crazy. Who wants to, Eric or Howard, talk about what it's been like in the office?
In the office, it is pretty. I mean, obviously, it's pretty frantic. I mean, before the release is, pretty typical, frantic energy and just people spending long hours to try to test and fix bugs and, just work out all the kinks and stuff. I mean, that's usually what happens. Of course, like Jerry pulled another all-nighter to try to deploy the build. So that's usually what happens. And then, then it's just like, talking to people about before, some people had last minute feedback. So Matt and I would say, spend a lot of time. Like, I don't know, it's like, okay, let's just put it this way. Tuesday, like, I don't know, like day and night, it was really a little bit hard to discern. But, it was great. Like, we spent a lot of time just talking to people, answering some long emails and, Skype chat, whatever chat, just to kind of address, some concerns and take some feedback and think about a lot of things, talk about a lot of things. And then, after the patch rolls out, so once again, looking at some bug fixes, hot fix, a couple things, and really just continue to talk to players, listening to feedback and whatnot, noting stuff down. Today, though, some of the emphasis is has to be shifted towards like the event, the YouTuber thing on Monday, and then for me, it was just like dealing with like any number of things. So we're thinking about going to EGX, so looking at the submission forums, thinking about PAX Prime, trying to think a little bit ahead, a couple steps ahead, to see like what shows we want to be in, what we're doing for the summer, like what we're going to be. We're going to be doing something on Humble. So it's kind of like noting stuff, that kind of stuff down, thinking about like the shows. And I'll probably be going back to Taiwan again or Taipei again to do a talk on their like developer forum, and then so I'm trying to prep a little bit for talk topic, and I might be doing a talk together actually with Kraken, so that could be pretty funny. Yeah. So
where?
And then E3.
He's going to Taiwan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he would like to. Yeah. So we're talking about that, and then Tim and I are going to be on a panel next month, and then I was like trying to beg Tim to just prep his talk so I could just kind of chime in and nod my head so I don't have to do any work. And then, so there's just any number of like summer things that were going on, like E3, we got an invite from Sony, but it's a long story. So probably, anyway, so it's just a lot of things that are like, it's finally like piling up that I need to get to as well, in addition to still talking to a lot of players. So, yeah.
I mean, I'd definitely like to say, I'm not going to name everyone specifically, but thank you for just every single person who sent in feedback over the course of the past couple months, especially over Stamina. We pushed it back on your guys' recommendation. We took in more and more feedback, and it's gotten to a point, it came out, there's, definitely people who dislike it, but in my mind, it's so much better, and that's because of you guys. So this Saturday, you get to take a break. I'm not going to sit here and ramble about how we have more testing. You get to sleep in. You get to, have the Saturday all to yourselves. And then we'll probably come back and ask you to do more stuff for us. But
yeah, I mean, I think with feedback, a lot of people send us, more last minute feedback because they probably didn't have a chance to, test and dev app and whatnot earlier. But I think that's sort of the hard part for us, right? Because even if sometimes it's like, even if the feedback's totally dead on and right, we're out of time to implement it. So like, I think we'll try to announce a clear cutoff for people to submit feedback, and we'll just have to set the expectation a little bit earlier that, when we freeze, like when we internally freeze, we'll probably need to freeze for the most part on like some of the feature requests and feedback and whatnot, just so that, otherwise we don't want to let you down and say that, oh yeah, we're ignoring you or whatnot. But then realistically, what we need time, right? We need time to test, we need time to implement stuff and to digest things. So, we're going to try to be clear about, when we take feedback and, when we'll just need to freeze everything for build. So.
And then the first question we got is, why is my hair combed today? Normally it has product in it. I actually try to get all fancied up for you guys, but today I was feeling lazy, so it's just combed. So if it looks better, let me know, because I'm super happy to be lazy. Then Simon says, the lesson is to submit the worst possible changes to outrage to outrage the best responses. No, the best thing is to just send the best feedback possible. I mean, we got a dissertation the day before the patch went out, and there was a lot of great things in it. I mean, and that's why.
No, I mean, well, yeah. To be fair, with the dissertation, like some of the things that we did end up like we did end up arguing about, and we did took some of that stuff into consideration. But it's just harder. Not to say that we're not doing it, but it's a lot harder, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ultramage says, will you go over all the changes today? So, sure thing. We'll pull out the patch notes while I'm grabbing those unless Howard or Eric wants to read them.
No, I kind of just want to, just kind of shove it under the table.
If we talk about all the changes we made, that's all we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't mind
time
that.
to go through all of them.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
If there are specific questions, we will answer them. How about that?
All right. Well, so Sammy's got one. Speaking of worst changes, can y'all walk us through the UI changes?
Yes. I mean, we can. I mean, I feel like so the UI changes, first of all, is on the one hand, it's trying to address some long-standing concerns. Basically long-standing feedback. Like, so for example, gun ammo. I know like some of the vets had feedback about gun ammo. First of all, like not gun ammo, gun health, whether that's even needed. Well, I would say that for you guys, yeah, like very likely not, and you guys probably don't need that information. But however, there's another side of the coin, right? I mean, we had, for months we've been taking a lot of feedback. I would say like just tens of individual like feedback about gun health, not knowing what it is because the effects is like alone just insufficient. I mean, it's to the point where like, so for example, sometimes I'm on stream or like with YouTubers and stuff, right? All of a sudden they just like the gun, they just jumped off the gun, and then they're like, oh, they're moving the gun around, it's like too slow, whatever. And they don't know what the hell happened, right? So whether like obviously like for you guys it's debatable, like if that's even necessary or not. You guys can totally argue that that's just not necessary information for you. But there's some people who have like adamantly requested that to be added in, and then then the next question is like, well, is the current design, is it too bulky and whatnot? Yeah, I mean, we see the thing is that like we actually gotten some really good and detailed feedback about, okay, this design actually blocks some elements on screen that blah blah blah. So that is something that we're absolutely looking at and addressing, right? So same with stamina and same with like and gun hall health, hall health. And with stamina, I think it is really, I mean, it does kind of encroach on the question of like information hierarchy a little bit. In that, I don't know if it's Sammy or somebody else like who raised that point, and I think that is something that we're definitely taking a look at, right? Because Tim is like already had an idea about how to improve it. Compass, I would say actually personally, I would I like the current implementation of Compass. I think it was, I don't know if it's Sammy or someone, we had a debate about, the Compass, the old Compass versus the new Compass. I do think that, from a visual standpoint, the new Compass is an improvement visually. That's obviously subjective. I mean, it's always subjective. But I truly believe that, and I truly believe that, for a higher level play, the communication information as far as like, enemy direction could be done. It's not really like what. I think it's like the one tick, from Southwest is like, I don't know, man. I think there are other common lingos that we can use people use or have been using to communicate that information. And I feel like, that's not really a loss. Granted, it feels like a loss of information because, that visual information was there. But I think realistically, when we're actually playing the game, I would argue I would contend that it's not really a loss of information. And then there's some, contention about the icon sizes of the gun. We got like a lot. We got basically a bunch of feedback either way. Tim's really tried to wrestle with that because we also have people who like on their screen they feel like the icon's too small. So then his solution was to actually scale it based on resolution. But for some people, it still feels too big. So that's something that we'll be looking at as well. And then hull health, length of the hull health bar, whether it has tickers or not, tick marks or not. The one thing I would say is that regardless of the visual representation, the current hull health display is more accurate, and that's I would say it's truly accurate, whereas before it wasn't. Which is obviously like kind of a fault of us, but at least we addressed that issue, and so the hull health bar, it is actually really reliable now and really accurate now. So that's a good thing. Whether, the length of it is comfortable enough for readership, yeah, I mean, that's been brought up. And so that's something we'll address as well. Tick marks, I mean, I feel like that's sort of a thing that, I've been debating, Matt and Eric, we've been debating with players about, I mean, I think at some point we will probably have to think about to what extent is the measurement of that information useful. I think that is sort of an open question that I think we can all discuss. But I mean, we felt comfortable enough that at least for us to remove those like notches and bars. But we could see that that information being also useful. But to what extent do we want to mark off health, for example? I don't know. I personally think that's something that we can have another conversation about, at least before we just arbitrarily add it back in or leave it out, right? As far as some people complain that it's minimalistic and blah blah. But I would say this, right? The design direction of our UI has always been that. It's really kind of a tug of war. We feel like in our mind from day one about functionality, just basically making sure that we display things in a simple and hopefully clean manner, versus embellish it and make it fanciful, to try to connote steampunk and whatnot. I mean, I would say it's always kind of a tug of war. If you look at games like 80 Days, for example, I mean the whole visual aesthetics, I mean it's set in a steampunk world and whatnot, but the way they present UI and text is also sort of like in the same direction that we're doing. So I would say that this is not a unique problem to us. We just kind of we chose that direction from day one, and I would say that as far as color consistency goes, the current UI, in my opinion, is actually more consistent, whereas before it was not. I mean, I think that is, I think that's actually, to me anyway, it's pretty clear. So yeah, I mean, people have specific concerns about UI. Got some a lot of feedback from Richard, got a lot of feedback from Sammy, and from other people as well. Some of the things that that is really utility, that have utility concerns, we're absolutely taking a look at. So we'll try to improve upon it. Some of the aesthetic choices, I would say, I mean, I don't think we're being inconsistent, actually.
All right,
let the debate begin. I mean, I absolutely don't mind debating about this.
No, there's a couple questions. Definitely bring them up in order. The first one was, have we ever thought about adding a slider for the UI, so for size?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's something I'm talking to Tim about, and to be smarter with sizing. And then the other thing is that so some people have requested some more advanced functionality, such as maybe, for example, for a vet player to turn gun health off, maybe. That's something that we'll try to at least talk about and see, like, just to see. I mean, obviously, the one thing I want to say is that, like, just because we're not rolling out with another UI rev is like not because we didn't listen or we're not hearing feedback. We're not realizing that, okay, fine, there's some complaints for some people's use cases and whatnot. All right, some people just like opinions or just like or issues or concerns. It's really more because it's just going to take us time to be able to to tweak stuff, right, to test stuff and whatnot. So just because we don't have a hot fix today for some of the UI concerns that people have doesn't mean that we didn't hear about it or we're not working on it. All right, so
on that note, for UI, are we looking at, is there an ETA or estimated timeline for this? Is it we're looking at next patch, or are we looking for a hot fix in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month?
I don't know. I don't know, honestly, because first of all, like, we'll need to so we'll have actually a new person to help us with UI, actually, which is kind of exciting. But and this is probably one of the first things that the person will be tackling. But ETA, I don't know yet. I probably have to talk to Tim and Alex. We'll have to talk to Tim and Alex to see just how fast we can make changes. And then I think what's also important is for us to not just like, half fix it, like what we do with everything. We don't just like, we'll just make some fixes and just throw it out there, right? And I think the next step will be like, if we obviously have to work on some of the fixes, but to have people test it and play with it and see, right? And I think that's probably the more responsible thing to do. I feel like we have been more responsible in that regard with everything, especially for balance fixes. We're not just throwing stuff out there. I would say, like, last year, even if you guys would know some, it's like, I don't know. I mean, if you want to go back to like what the Heavy Flag, Artemis, or any one of those like crazy days. I mean, I feel like it's the way we did it in the past has been more ad hoc, and we're not doing that anymore. So it's going to take us a little bit.
All right, and then someone was asking, how is the new Hull Health more representative? That one I know, actually, from talking about it so many times. But the old Hull Health was those little ticks was based off of percentages, so it was either all gone or all not. Whereas with the new one, every bit of damage is shown. So I guess what players are saying, though, is with the ticks, it's harder to explain it to their allies, like how much health they have left.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Look, there's really two different problems, right? It's just like if that bar was accurate in the past, and it was not. All right, it was, a decent approximation, but it was just not accurate. The other problem was that, whether just any tick mark or legend is useful to convey health information, right? And so, like, we felt like, we didn't. It's subjective. I mean, we felt like it will be okay for us to remove that. But I think we're also hearing some really vets and competitive players saying that no. I mean, we actually want that. I mean, then it becomes like also an aesthetics thing, right? Because I mean, the most accurate will be like I would just tell you, the numerically like how much gun health how much hull health you have. And how much you have left, right? Like Final Fantasy style, like JRPG style. But then, like just having like a bunch of numbers on the screen, I don't know. It's also debatable as to whether that's overkill, too much. It's just like too cumbersome aesthetically and whatnot. So, like I said, it's really the accuracy problem we fixed. Okay. Then the next question is really do we really need tick marks or not, right? Well, legend or not, and if so, like how accurate should we be? Because in the past, like I don't think that's actually, so we just kind of threw it in, all right? To be honest, and like now I think because of this, actually, I think we're having an interesting debate or conversation with some of the vet players and competitor players about just how useful that data is, or like into useful in detail to what extent. That's really the question. Because I mean, just adding tick mark, that's a cosmetic thing, right? But so like, how much do we want to add? How detailed do we want to do it? Because I mean, let's say we add 100 lines. We can add 100 lines, but at that point, is that useful? I don't know.
All right. And then, will there be decorational items that you can put anywhere on the ship?
We're currently no, but because currently no. That's obviously something that we have thought about and thought would be cool, but that's harder to do. But so far no. Will we ever do that? I'm not sure. I mean, that's given all the stuff that we really need to do. It's that I think this will be like a nice to have thing for us anyway.
Eric, there was a question for you. Why are you in Guns of Icarus all the time? One of the players asked. Apparently, he's on your Steam's friends list.
Finally, a question that I can answer.
No, you can answer any of these, okay?
Go nuts,
Talk about the art direction, Eric.
I'm just taking the front line, okay? So, so I get shot.
Why am I in Guns all the time? It's because whenever any of us developers have Guns of Icarus, when we're actually working in Unity, it goes through the same Steam verification process. So Steam thinks Guns of Icarus Online is running, but in fact we're running, we have just Unity open. So, I leave Unity open while I'm at home, or I'm not on this computer while I'm sleeping. So that's why I have so many hours also logged into it. I'm not actually playing the game. I'm rarely playing the game for playing safe. So just testing in Unity or, dev games and stuff like that. So don't mistake it.
All right, and then what guns are in the works?
What guns?
Yeah, well...
there are many guns in the works, but they're all for co-op. We're testing out a variety of different new mechanics that are going to cater to the co-op experience. Keep in mind that in skirmish mode you're only facing off against a maximum of 4 other airships, whereas in co-op it's way more than 4. So all these new gun design concepts will keep that in mind.
All right, dude. Eric's being coy, and I'm so excited about the new guns and stuff. I'm just gonna name them out. Okay, you can expect a Lightning Tesla type weapon. You can expect. Well, we're also prototyping and playing around with this crazy light beam, and then. We're playing around with this projectile weapon that explodes toxic clouds or whatever. So I mean it's I don't know. I'm really excited, dude. Tesla, man, that gun is sick. I love it.
Not until I balance it.
Oh my god, we're gonna get in trouble for saying
that. And then, so what inspired us to make a game like this?
It's a good question. I think, there's really 2 parts to this, right? One is just kind of how we come up with game ideas. And it is really organic, I would say. It is really kind of how John Lasseter talks about, so they're going to a cafe one day, and they have notepads and napkins and just kind of jam on ideas. Actually, it sounds kind of crazy. That's for a company like Pixar, that's how they do. But it's actually more common than you think. So I think a lot of our ideas are just kind of us coming, just kind of talk about it, just jam on it, and have some fun with it, and at some point we're like, hey, maybe we should try it out, right? But now I think we're a little bit more organized. So after every release, we'll dedicate maybe say 2-3 days. We'll just kind of do a game jam, and we'll actually run that for let's say 2 days or sometimes 3 days, and then everybody would just we'll break us up into 3 teams. Let's say of 3. and then we'll just you know, so it's like, you know, usually we'll have one person who's like the kind of the little team leader or group leader, and we'll just like, you know, just jam an idea and aim to prototype it or come up with like a little prototype in 2-3 days, and you know, and we'll just kind of, it's kind of a nice refresher, but it's also a way for us just to bring some ideas to life, and then. So if it's the other part of the question is like, how do we come up with guns specifically? It is really kind of looking at different mechanics, as you guys know. It's looking at you know, tourist shooting, and how it would be interesting to make that a central part of a game, which, you know, at the time we thought it's just never been done really. And then, you know, to kind of complement some offensive elements with like, you know, some repair or defensive component to it. And we wanted that to be frantic, so we're actually looking at, you know, time management games like, you know, Dino Dash, or like some of the Japanese like time management stuff like Coco Curry House or whatever, which is like super fun and really frantic. So just kind of looking at like these disparate components or elements or mechanics, and, you know, try to bring that together into a eclectic whole. And you know, as far as like steampunk, it is sort of like what, you know, our artists like Emily at the time like really liked, and then, but it's also like, I think it's also sort of smart in my opinion in doing that, because in picking that, because like in order for this kind of teamwork to work, we had to confine space, and give people different roles within a very confined space. And if we, so for instance, like if we pick a tank as a vehicle choice, or as a way to limit space, then I think there was kind of a chasm in belief versus disbelief, because in a tank, you'll know that, like, you know, the work is, the role is very, very regimented and very divided. You know, you're never going to have, you know, a tank commander probably go pick up a shell and load in a gun, right? So I think in order for that to work, we felt like, okay, we want to have some degree of fantasy. And, you know, that coupled with steampunk, you know, I think it's actually really good to do this in steampunk, you know, to be on airships. And then also at the time, we just thought like, you know, steampunk games are underrepresented. So.
All right. And then the next question is, what happened to the harpoon?
That might actually be a bug.
Yeah. I think you guys are talking about like what, the missing scope or something like that, or whatever.
I assume the question is just what happened to the harpoon.
Yeah, well, we were actually testing some features.
Yeah, if you're talking about the bug, then there's a bug. Yeah.
Then is your company going to make any other games other than Guns of Icarus?
Yeah. Okay. So like, you know, for all the Kickstarter backers, just kind of shut your ears for a little bit. So we're, you know, like the hamster game, the hamster brawler game that we're doing, we're still playing around with it. We're probably a little, you know, we'll spend a little bit more time on it this year. But, you know, as a side project, but, you know, we're still playing around with it. It's actually getting kind of cool. I mean, I don't mind, like, if you guys are interested, I don't mind, like, you know, we don't mind like showing you guys more about it. But, you know, having said that, yeah, the most of the work is still on Guns because it's unfinished, right? So, but yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, I guess at some point we'll branch out and, you know, make other games and do stuff, you know, and just because we're, you know, you know, an indie team, you know, like I think by definition we'll need to keep innovating and keep like coming up with cool stuff, hopefully. And so, yeah, but it just, you know, now is really the focus just pretty much mostly on Guns.
And then how do you plan to tell the 70% of players who don't read patch notes about stamina? Stamina is now the biggest difference between the classes. Are you going to put something on the character loadout screen about it?
Yeah, that's sort of, I mean, that is really, yes. I think having like this problem is sort of like.
Wait, hold on. Yes, we can put something in for class descriptions. That's a really good idea. We'll definitely be able to do that. I believe for new players, stamina should be in tutorials now.
Yeah, okay, that's sort of what I was going to say. Is that like we need to do what can I say? We need to do a better job of tutorial. That's
Well, they should be in tutorials, right?
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, the problem is just like Tom put in the text piece, right? But it's like, I think with just, yeah, I mean, I think, okay. So anyways, what we're doing right now.
To cut you off again, we're going to improve tutorials.
I was just going to say that, damn it. I mean.
Come on, you talk too much, man. Let's get the questions rolling. These are very long-winded responses.
I mean, what am I supposed to say? People ask questions that I thought demand.
You're trying to like butter people up. I respect you guys. You guys don't need any buttering. Give it to you straight. All right.
That's bullshit.
The buck stops with Eric here.
All right, you know what?
To be honest, I'm getting bored sitting here.
Whatever. You could jump in and answer any of these questions. And like,
you're jumping in.
He just did.
Time.
He cut you off.
I know, but like you like I'm like,
there you go.
If I serve as your meat shield, dude, like, fuck.
Right, next
like
question.
might have been like serving as your meat shield for like 3 days, dude. Come on, man. Give some credit.
Eva Duck says Eric nerfed Howard. So is Kickstarter the same as buying full adventure mode? Does full adventure mode include Kickstarter items? So if you supported the Kickstarter for adventure mode, it's basically any expansion for Guns of Icarus. It's all further content of Guns of Icarus. The same as if you go to the store on gunsoficarus.com/store, you can pre-order it there and you get any expansion pack kind of thing. So right now...
But if one thing to add, you asked about items. Only Kickstarter backers get the special costume that comes with it. So that's if you didn't back the Kickstarter, there's no other way to get it.
But there are other costumes to get if you get the, I think it's collectors, or there's a $55 one on our store if you really want to support us and you like us. So there's some special costumes that are going to be in there for co-op. Then there's a question, why is your game so unpopular? I'm really surprised there's only 700 plus people on there when the game is absolutely amazing. First of all, thank you. I'm glad you think the game is amazing. Second, it's all outreach. It's the hardest thing for indies for every game out there. I mean, we're competing against like GTA 5 and Evolve and just all those really big games. So,
Well,
yeah, I mean, I think I look at this with glass half full kind of a way. Is that, hey, if most people have heard of us by now, we'll probably be in more trouble than if most people haven't heard of us. If most people haven't heard of us, there's always a chance more people will hear about us. So,
Well, in a glass half full kind of way is we're an indie multiplayer game that survived over 2 years. I mean, that's that's a huge feather in the cap compared to a lot of them out there.
yeah, I guess.
Then maybe ask Valve to put front page ad for Guns of Icarus on Steam. We are definitely doing stuff with Steam to get the word out there as well. So
yeah, I mean they've helped us a lot too. Yeah, they've been good. Like I think Steam's been good to us.
Yep. And then the question is from Sammy: mandatory tutorial?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we want to do. There are some other people in the office that disagree, but if it were up to me personally, I will definitely have mandatory tutorials. There's no way to opt out. Although there is an interesting use case where, let's say, you are at a friend's house and you watch them play Guns and you hop onto their Steam account, their computer, and play, and you kind of get an idea, and then it's like, oh, let's play Guns together when you get home. And then you buy the game and you have to run through. So we're trying to also cater to that. What other games have done is you can actually, if you know what to do in the tutorial already, you can just sort of speed run through it. So we want to at least facilitate. It's yes, you need to do the tutorial, but you can do the tutorial much faster than the text appears. We're not going to gate in any hard way.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think another
tutorials is high on my priority list at least.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think some of the one idea that we're thinking about, that we're leaning towards, is that we'll at least require you to do tutorial before you graduate novice, for example. So maybe if you don't do it right away, but you will sort of have to do it if you want to graduate novice, for example. At least that's one idea we're thinking about that seems reasonable. and then some other things that we're thinking about, just like to kind of modularize tutorial, so that eventually there'll be more, missions, which will be fun. Hopefully, we'll make tutorial funner for you to actually do, so you don't feel like it's such a drag,
So Sammy says on tutorials.
Is Sammy the only person watching? Oh,
no. Sammy's just.
It's just
Sammy,
vocal.
Yeah. You know it was a joke proposal, but what about allowing the kicking of players who haven't played the tutorials?
Oh man.
Frightening.
Hey, it sounds like a very unique solution to the problem, so I find it entertaining to think about it. At the very least. I know kicking is not our style, but it is still funny to me. Why did you guys randomly start showing MMR scores? Did we?
What?
No.
Yeah, we're all confused now. I'm looking at what?
Yeah. Okay.
Happening?
Omniraptor, where are we showing MMR scores? Because we should not be doing that.
He's asking about the underdog feature.
Oh, the
He's putting
underdog
that
thing.
I mean, well, what can you say? Like, okay, fine. If you are, say, you have a super high MMR, right? You and your friends have super high MMR. You go from the blue team to the red team, and you see underdog change. Is that an indication of some indication of MMR? Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think it's a clear indication that you're an OP player, that you're a great player. But anyways, I think the feature, I thought it was fun. I mean, we tossed it around. We thought it was really fun to do, and it's a way. It's like a really. Hopefully, it's a if that encourages people to play matches and not like bail out in the lobby. If that even has like a slight inkling of a slight benefit of that, I will say that's kind of cool. And otherwise, just it's kind of, I think it's a fun thing to do, right? I mean, because the problem is like we'll never be able to make sure that a match is 100% like balanced. It's balanced, always balanced within our MMR threshold or whatever. So yeah, it's a fun way for people to do, and maybe move around, try to take the underdog side. So.
And then, what were the changes? What were the changes in achievement awards, and why did you not find a need to raise the novice level cap?
Okay, so what we found was that more than half of the experience gained while graduating novice is earned from achievements. So that's a lot of experience that you're gaining from achievements, especially things like Wilson's notes and the various Evadne's reports. Those were giving 1,000 experience a piece. So that means you're basically winning a match every time you get one of those notes unlocked. So this was fairly problematic. Of course, we did think of raising just the level cap. I mean, that would be the easiest thing to do. But at the same time, psychologically for a player, it's like, oh man, I have to reach like level 15 before I'm considered like an actual legitimate player. That's kind of ridiculous sometimes. So we wanted to keep that psychological threshold a little bit lower. 8, I think, is even kind of high, in at least for me. So that's why we did the rescaling of the rewards given by some of these achievements. So basically, to summarize, what we did is that before the equation for at least sequenced achievements, so it's like, oh, you have a class and you have like this specific sequence track from sequence 1 to 15. So it's the sequence number times 1,000. So sequence 1 would give 1,000, sequence 2 would give 2,000, up until 15,000 experience points. So what we did instead is that we've lowered the rewards given at the lower end. So instead of receiving 1,000 experience for sequence level 1, you get like 200 something. However, as you get higher into that sequence, you will start earning even more experience than you would have before. So for example, let's say, level 15 sequence would reward you with 15,000 in the past. Now you get like 20,000 or something silly like that. At the end of the day, if you complete an entire sequence, you will be getting roughly the same amount of experience as you were before in the old system. So, for everyone who has gained achievements, it doesn't affect you. You still have the achievements that you've gotten. You've gotten the experience points for them. It will only affect the experience that you will get in the future for new achievements that you have. So hopefully this will curb the rate at which new players are getting out of novice, while still keeping in their minds like, oh, I only need to get to level 8. It's not that high. So we'll definitely see as we're, when we get a new influx of players, and tweak as we need to.
All right, and then how is testing coming along for bringing people into test co-op mode? So like Kickstarter backers and pre-orders.
Yeah. So where we are right now is that we are so we've been prototyping essentially 3 game modes, right? Just so that so Eric will kind of design out the game mode, like build out test levels and whatnot. And so we've been using it to hone the AI, to train the AI director, just to kind of test out the modes and whatnot. So that works. That actually has been going. I mean, it's been going for a long time, and it's really incremental. It's like alchemy, right? But we're in a pretty decent place. So like airships don't just continue to ram into walls or like the side of the mountain and stuff like that. Will spin around. So like now what we're actually looking at is also to design a lot of the cool stuff to take advantage of resources and whatnot, to basically to have like enmeshed feedback loops, just to basically make sure that how well you're doing is also being presented and measured in game, and I think we're going to be working on that. So we're definitely getting closer to the point where we feel like we're happy with it as a baseline to get people into test. And once we do that, then yeah, we'll get all the Kickstarter backers and anybody who pre-ordered in us, as well as our CAs and mods in there to test. That we're aiming. Eric, I guess what we're looking at, June-ish, somewhere around there, hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully.
All right, and then there was a suggestion was brought up about mandatory tutorials, saying, what if there was a voucher kind of system? So if you were a non-novice, you could vouch people out of tutorials for the use case you brought up.
That's interesting.
Never
thought of it. Actually, we never thought about that. Pretty interesting idea. I nominate Matt to write this one down.
Okay.
Because I'm the one who locked every single.
I nominate EvoDoc because I'm currently doing this show and EvoDoc is in the chat. But if he doesn't grab it, I will definitely grab it. So I'll make sure this idea is recorded.
I take credit for logging every single UI feedback on Trello.
Sounds good. Question: what about the addition of a news feed on the main lobby page to help new players see special events that we have planned?
Yes. That's actually for the main screen. Consider this main screen a placeholder, and it has been a placeholder for I don't know, God knows how long. But because at some point we'll need to make a consideration for PvE, so that has been thought about and basically really designed in even wireframe. So we'll get there actually. So some point where you for the main screen you'll see something like that.
All right. Yeah, someone's saying basically put the community tab on the main screen. As Howard said, got the wireframe up. We just need to get really the engineering time on it. But yeah, we've been.
Well, I mean, we'll have to design because we'll have to integrate co-op into the game, right? So it's going to be a long design process from not just from UI, just not necessarily an individual case, and the entire UX will need to be kind of thought through again. So it'll take us a while, but it's definitely something that we'll do.
Gilder says, Howard, have my baby.
Whoa.
Wait, you should be saying Eric, I mean, I'm the one who gets yelled at, but Eric is like also the one you should be. Okay, let's put it this way. You know, Matt and I take the yelling, but Eric's actually the one you should be thanking. So we're essentially, you know, Matt and I do the thankless stuff, but in the thank gets redirected to Eric. So.
Now, I don't know how true that is. Like making changes
yeah.
patch.
Hey.
Not fun.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true.
So if there are any bugs that you see with any of like discrepancies between release notes and what you see in the actual game, please let me know because that's why.
Yeah, we just fixed a case of that. You know, Tom and Daniel reported a case of this, so we just kind of had to fix it. That's stressful, but anyway.
All right, and then Tesla gun would be cool thematically, but mechanically, what would it do? AOE? Would it ignite? Would it chain? So I guess.
Don't even, guys, don't even think about this for like competitive PvP standpoint. You know.
Yeah, let me reiterate this again. Weapons that we're making available in co-op will probably, a high probability, will not make it into skirmish because I'm balancing, let's fight 1 million enemy guns versus, to make that applicable for like, competitive PvP. That's almost impossible. So it's going to give us a lot of leeway as far as doing really cool and ridiculous stuff in co-op, but the trade-off is, sorry, you can't use those cool and ridiculous guns in skirmish. Maybe we'll think of some other ideas once we finish the batch of work for co-op, but yeah, it's going to chain, like lightning gun again, it's going to chain, there's going to be AoE, it's going to light things on fire, the whole bunch of things that we're playing around with and just getting the feel just right.
All right. Why wasn't telling us what game mode each map is when voting on the next match not added? Is it really hard to do?
No, what's the question?
I think this is already on Trello.
Which one?
I've heard of this piece of feedback, and I think it's reasonable.
Which one? Sorry.
It is on Trello. It is so it will say like Desert Scrap, King of the Hill, like basically letting know what game map it is. But he's asking why wasn't it added for this patch?
I mean it's actually like high up on to do. So we're I think like Jerry was seriously trying to jam it in last minute, but didn't make it. Basically. There's just some stuff that we wanted to do, just didn't make it.
Any updates?
No, and there's like a thing that we actually voted not to do, and like Jerry snuck it in anyway. So.
Oh, sneaky Jerry. Any updates concerning co-op testing within the dev app? Yep, June. We mentioned before if you missed it, but definitely don't mind answering again. And any more major aesthetics coming out soon, like more ship themes or clothing, minus hair and hats?
I'd have to ask Tim, honestly. I mean, he's out visiting his grandma. His grandma's sick. So I don't know. I have to ask Tim, to be honest. But, well, I mean, one thing is just like, from workshop, we didn't make, aside from the Grumps voice packs, we didn't get some of the voice packs that were player submitted in. That is another thing that we'll do, which is pretty exciting. So I don't know. I'd ask Tim.
All right. Will you guys be adding more game modes in the future to PvP?
Potentially. I think we'll work on co-op first, and then if there's something interesting that we'll, bring back to PvP, we'll always do that. So.
And then someone's asking, why can I only dye one Kovansky hair? I bought 6 to dye, all different, but can only dye one.
Ooh.
I think because the Kovansky hair originally you could dye. I think we changed that.
Oh,
so
damn! You know what? Yes, that's correct. That is correct. I think it's just that after we made the change to make hair dyeing uniform, because Kovansky was like the only hair you can dye, right? And to make it uniform, we removed that. And I think it just so happens that, that happened. You know what? Write us, and we'll see what we can do for you individually. Because that kind of sucks. So you guys know the email, right? feedback@musesgames.com. Write it, and I'll ask Tim and Jared, see if there's a way we can take care of you.
Are we looking for any specifics on voice packs or other marketplace materials?
As far as what gets, what gets into the game or not.
Yeah, I can chime in a little bit about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are the basic rules. What we'll accept, like no trademarked items, nothing offensive. So, you can forget about all your swastikas and, all kind of pornographic materials. That's never going to make it into the game. For people who are legitimately putting a lot of time and effort into their various designs, and I guess this also extends to voice packs, but I'm more specifically talking about decals and whatnot. You can take a look at the kinds of stuff that we are admitting into the game. So go through the new items and decals that you see now in this new patch. Take a look at them and compare your design versus the ones that we've put into the game. That should give you some indication of just what's out there and what kinds of things that we're going to accept. Because truly, some of the ones that are submitted to the workshop, they're really good. They're really great designs. It shows a lot of effort and skill. So we're ultimately just looking at things that we think really look nice and are reaching a really great level of design effort and design sensibilities. So you can always, of course, send us a more specific email to feedback@musegames if you have any questions about why your particular design did not make it through the process. But hopefully that'll give you a little bit of more guidance as far as what mark do you need to hit in order to get something admitted into the game.
Yeah, and let me add to what Eric's saying, right? Because someone just wrote us, Beth just wrote us this morning about that, specifically about that. And part of the issue is actually also our bandwidth. So are there really high quality designs that are in the workshop right now that are not in the game? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the problem is just that we can only get to a few because, right now, Tim, everything's really manual. And so Tim has to do a lot of work to integrate it, clean it up, make sure, test it in scene, and see everything looks great, fix some stuff at times, and it basically just, integrate them into the game, right? And that takes a lot of time. So we can only conceivably do a few, an update, right? So we're also limited by our own bandwidth. So just because, like you say, you have a really great design and you're not in the game, I guess, yeah, some of it's on us because, we just don't have enough time to do because Tim, has to spend a lot of time doing that. So I think hopefully through the summer, we'll get, a little bit more help, from interns and, there's a person who's coming up contracting. So hopefully we can get more help and we can get some more really well-deserved items in. There's that component as well.
There's also something that's not on the Steam Workshop page, but is very important to note. We are not taking in any more Jolly Rogers, and things that follow that design. There's definitely a lot of good ones in there, but I just want to. It's a little tip, and it's another important fact of if there's a design that's already very similar. Tim has talked about he doesn't want to really double up on items. So if you see one, you're like, oh man, I could do a slightly different version of that. It probably won't get accepted.
Oh
yeah.
And then DJ Jazzman asks, a good question about decal designs. How do you guys tell what's being submitted and know the originality of the work and that it's not stolen?
Yeah, I mean, Tim actually just go through the design and try to find references and try to, do as much as he can to verify that that's original design. Obviously we take everybody on good faith, right? But if we let designs that say potentially violated copyright, whether it's whether it's intentional or not, then it's sort of on us as well. So yeah, he's actually, that's part of the reason why sometimes it takes a while, because he's actually trying to do as much due diligence as possible.
All right. And then, what's a game mode the devs would like to add in, but is just unreasonable to code and introduce to the game?
Oh, so like we've been talking about, like a really low, really low visibility map for a while. I mean, I would just absolutely love to see that. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but yeah, yeah, I'm so get excited. Like occasional lightning, flare gun, oh my god, enemy there, god, oh, they disappear, where did they go? Pretty cool. I like it.
All right, and Eric?
Yeah, difficult to code. Yeah, probably the well, not necessarily code, but it's a mix of programming and art. Yeah, getting the proper lighting to work for a nighttime map is going to be very challenging.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Light works already. It's just making sure everything else is illuminated properly. One interesting thing to note is that if we, hopefully get to Unity 5 sooner than later, but Unity 5 has some really great real-time lighting
solutions. That is true.
So, who knows?
Ooh. Yeah, no, I think I pretty much echo their statements, really. Just a sort of nighttime map doing other interesting things with lighting. Be cool.
And my too big to ever legitimately suggest idea would be just some more siege-like things, or taking out structures or walls to create paths and stuff. Like, that would be well, that's stupid big. And
that would be
too much
nice.
Work.
Siege mode.
Yeah. Question: will the game work with VR headsets such as Oculus Rift, consumer version, and HTC Vive?
Not quite. Well, we played around with it for a little bit and we dropped it, just because we just prioritize other stuff over it. But yeah, I mean, it'll be cool, right? If you're on an Oculus and you're at the helm, I think it'd be really cool. But not quite. We didn't do enough work to make that work yet.
And I'm gonna try to. We are a minute away from the Iron Forker Friday, and I don't want to cut too much into them. And we still have a bunch of questions, so I'm gonna try to run through as many as quickly as possible. Can I ever get a bird on my shoulder as a character costume idea?
Love that idea. Freaking love that idea.
Is there any way we can get a mode where it gives you a random ship with a random loadout for both teams? That sounds like it could lead to a lot of frustration with suboptimal builds and a lot of work. So
yeah, it could be done, but it would be annoying if you're on the bad end of a build.
I mean, if I get a junker with all flares, I'll still fly my tail off, but I'm not sure if everybody will do the same.
Can I make a decal based on my family coat of arms? Yes, you can. The only things are the same rules that apply to everyone else. Quality, make sure it works, and unless your family coat of arms is a face of Gabe Newell, something like that, which none of those are going to get in. There's so many, but...
Yes, there are.
I'd love to see a 2v2v2 mode, triple team deathmatch, like blue, red, and green teams, same size as 3v3.
Yeah. Yes. That's been a long-standing request. Absolutely. It'll be cool. I mean, I think it'll be cool. I mean,
it would be fun.
It'll be fun.
It'd be tough.
It will be interesting. Yeah.
And with that, we have hit our hour, everyone. If there's any questions I missed, I'm really sorry, but you can always send them to feedback@musegames.com. You can ask me or Howard. We go through every single email, no matter how long it is, in depth. We make sure every part gets taken and you get a good answer. We even gave our name out to Skype and spent hours this week chatting with people because they had great ideas.
No, I mean, we do that all the time, right? But sometimes I feel like if someone writes me a super long email, I want to write a super long email back. But it's hard to do because my inbox oh yeah, dang.
But I want to thank everyone for coming out today, talking with us about the new patch. We'll be back next week on Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. for the dev games, which we'll be streaming here as well. And then at 3 p.m. on Friday next week again, we'll be doing the Dev Fireside Chat. So we'll see you then, everyone. Enjoy the Iron Forker Friday and have a great weekend.
Yep, the arm fork is next.
Oh, and every time you use stamina, you have to scream stamina or do Dragon Ball Z like charging.
Fucking, God damn it! Like I overshot.
That's
I
that's what we're going to do. We're gonna add that sound.
No, you see, like yesterday in Dev Hour, like first match, I turned on Moonshine and it blasted stamina. I like ran right past
Leroy Jenkins right into the middle of the team.
But with that, he flanked me and I exploded. I was like, God damn it!
Bye, everyone.